What's up, guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 1993 Daimler Double Six. Up front is a 6.0 liter V12, and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this here at Daimler Double Six for two reasons. First of all, it's a V12. I'll never, ever say no to a V12 automobile. But the second reason is the fact that Daimler is a really weird vehicle. You might be saying, Zach, that looks a lot like a Jaguar. And it is, but Daimler, isn't that Mercedes? Well, it kind of is. And so, we're gonna dive into that today. This video was filmed in the beautiful Sunshine State of Florida. If you would like to submit your vehicle, no matter where you are in the country, please head on over to zachpradel.com, where there's a quick and easy submission form. And the next time I travel the country, I might be coming to you. So let's get back to that 6.0 liter V12, and it is the V12. That's where this car got its name, the Double Six, because it's two straight sixes joined at the crankshaft, which is really, really cool. Now, you could get a Jaguar with a V12 back in the day. However, Daimler actually had their way with this car and tuned it and changed it a little bit. So this one makes 310 horsepower, which you might be thinking, Zach, that's not a lot of horsepower for a V12. Well, you would be right. However, this wasn't meant to be a power monster. It was meant to be something really smooth and elegant and luxurious, and something that when you sit down at the table and someone says, oh, I have a V8, I have a V10, you could say, oh, that's fine and dandy, but I have a V12. And that is a conversation ender, and that's what Daimler was going for. They wanted a top dog, and so they put a top dog underneath the hood. Now, like I said, paired to it, 4-speed auto, I wish it had more gears. However, in the early 90s, 4-speed auto was pretty common. And with that 12-cylinder under the hood, you put your foot into it, it doesn't even need to downshift, it just goes. Much like the 750iL that I drove last year, it's a big V12 that just does the business. Now, last but not least about the drivetrain, of course, it is rear-wheel drive. It's a big luxury sedan. It's supposed to be. So how does it feel to drive a V12 Daimler? Well, it's nice. It's very, very comfortable. It's very smooth. That's the thing that really captures your opinion and your feelings, is how smooth it is. Elegant. It is not a fast car. Sure, it is quick, but it's not fast. It's not going to blow the doors off a Lamborghini, but it just goes. And that's why you buy a car like this. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior, because that's where you really want to be in the Daimler. Well, in front of me, I have a bunch of gauges. Off to the left is my oil pressure and battery voltage. Then I have my tachometer to the left, speedometer to the right, fuel and coolant temperature to the far right. I also do get a little climate control vent on the dash, which is really, really nice. On the steering wheel, I don't have any buttons, but it does say Daimler, which is just really cool to see. I mean, I've never driven a Daimler before, and so that to me is such a special feeling. Off to the right, I do have my ignition switch, which is labeled in a very interesting way. It's not start, accessories, power, whatever. It's just 0, 1, 2, 3. That's it. 0, 1, 2, 3. Kind of odd there. I also do have my headlight switches to the far right. And moving out of the door, I have just my power mirrors, latch to get in and out, and grab handle. That's it. That's all I get over there. We'll talk about where the window switches are in a second. Moving into the center, I have 3 symmetrical vents, a little shelf, and then I have my center stack. So off to the far left is my cigarette lighter. I also get this information center where I can look at like average speed and average fuel economy. Very primitive to the systems that we have in modern cars, but still cool that it's there. Then I get a dimmer switch, my fuel reserve button, rear defroster, some dome lights, and a Daimler badge in the center. And then we have the radio surrounded by the climate control. So off to the left is the temperature, off to the right is the fan speed with direction down below, and then the radio is kind of mashed into all of that. Now, of course, this is an aftermarket radio added after the fact, but that's the factory location for the radio. Then we have the shifter area, which is a little cluttered. However, we have ashtrays on either side of the shifter, and then this dainty little shifter to put it into gear. Now, it's actually a jigsaw shifter, so there's no button. You just move it over to the left and then sort of ratchet it into the different gears, which is kind of a cost-saving mechanism. Weird to see in a V12 sedan, but oh well. And off to the left, I do have a cup holder that does in fact pass the big friggin' bottle test. However, I am 99% sure that this is not the factory cup holder. It doesn't look factory. Please correct me in the comments if it is factory. So I have to give the Daimler 66 a fail because it's not the factory equipment, even though my big friggin' bottle hasn't moved an inch throughout this entire video. Then we have the window switches sort of up against the center console, which is interesting. Inside the center console, you don't get anything. However, I'll explain why with the back seats. There's actually some back seat stuff that's routed through there. Then we got to talk about the seats. The seats, of course, are very, very comfortable. It's a big luxury car. I wouldn't expect anything less. However, if you really want to talk about comfort, let's hop in the back and do a backseat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 1993 Daimler 66, and this is where you want to be. My head is coming a little close to the ceiling, but not that big of a deal. Seats are super comfy, knee room fantastic. Like I said, headroom I could take or leave, but not the end of the world. I really, really like this experience. Over my shoulder, I get these sort of map lights, which is really, really cool. But the center console, I get a giant vent. My window switches, which kind of got to really work for to use. An ashtray, and then I also get this center console, rest my arm on. This is a comfortable, comfortable experience. When asked, where do you want to be with the Daimler 66? The back seat's the place. And that was to be expected. It's a big, comfy luxury car. Let's hop out. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, so we're on the back of the Daimler 66. There's a little handle right there, and you just pull that up. And what's interesting is that you don't get any side action here on the trunk. It reminds me a lot of like 60s cars. Anyway, that's the cover, obviously, for the battery. Come down here, we do get a spare tire. You hear the fuel pump working away there. Other than that, actually not crazy backspace because you don't get those outside parts, but hey, we're not gonna complain today because we have a V12, and that's all that matters in life. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I really like the look of the Daimler 66. I think it has that presence. It has the presence of like a Bond villain showing up, especially seeing the badges at the back, the Daimler D on the wheels and the fender. This car looks and feels like it's driven by the baddie, and I love that. I think that's very, very special. However, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think finally driving a Daimler 66? Well, I want to talk about the history of this car and the history of Daimler as a whole. So Daimler is its own standalone company, or at least it was actually at the turn of the century. Winston Churchill actually rode around in Daimlers back in the day. But then Jaguar owned the name, and it's bounced back and forth. It's almost an orphan at this point, where it bounced back and forth between Mercedes and Jaguar. And then, in the early 90s, Jaguar wanted an expensive marquee to sell to executives and people upscale, and they didn't really have a Jaguar to do it. So they produced the Daimler 66. Yes, this is produced by Jaguar. However, Daimler was still their own thing, but they were sold at Jaguar dealerships. That's why you'll see Jaguar of Japan in the rear window. So that means, yes, this car was sold originally in Japan, which I think is really, really cool. However, it's a Jaguar, but it's also a Daimler. But also Daimler is close to Mercedes. And Daimler ended up pairing up with Chrysler when Mercedes got with Chrysler in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then, to put on top of that, this car was built and assembled in England. Love that, it's right-hand drive. However, all of the labels are in Japanese. And now, I'm in Florida, in the United States, driving this car. This car is a monstrous, luxurious V12 identity crisis. It doesn't know what the heck it is, and I don't know what the heck it is. And I bet you the viewers don't really know what the heck this thing is. Obviously, it's a Daimler 66, but the amount of hands that came together to build this automobile is monstrous. And just the tacked on feel afterwards is monstrous as well. So if people ask me, is that a Jaguar? I'll say yes. Does that have Mercedes attached to it? Yes. Is it English? Yes. Is it Japanese? Yes. Is it American now? Yes. It's so many different things. It's wild. It's insane. And that's what drew me to it. If this car could talk, the number of owners, the number of places this car has been parked and driven and repaired at. 3 different continents. This is a very interesting automobile, and I hope it interested you at least a little bit, because boy, is this thing cool. Huge thank you to Matt and Tim from Obscure Rides. Obscure Rides is absolutely awesome. They let me take this car out today. They have a bicycle shop as well as classic cars, and they're always doing something fun and interesting. If you're in the St. Augustine, Florida area, please go check them out. Their information is found in the description below. I cannot thank them enough. They've been absolutely awesome through this whole process, and they've been a huge asset to the channel, so please go show them some love. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.